Ahoy, shipmates! I've got this peculiar feeling of deja vu. If I'm not mistaken, that's the Queen Mary 2 heading towards us. Well, unusually, the Queen Mary 2 has arrived at the port of Southampton about 9 o'clock this morning, and about 5 o'clock this evening she is leaving the port of Southampton after having bunkered, received some fuel, perhaps exchanged some shipmates on board, replenished the food supplies, maybe a couple of barrels of rum wouldn't go amiss for the captain's mess. Anyway, she's off. Destination unknown. Probably to drop anchor again somewhere in the Weymouth Bay. But I thought I'd come back out again because the conditions are really rather good. There's very little wind, the sun is strong, and the sky is relatively clear. Visibility not perfect, as you can see the container ship in the rear of the dock. The container dock is a little bit hazy, so. And as you can see on our right hand side is the Allure of the Seas, which arrived yesterday. It's been the old time in the port of Southampton at the moment. Excellent photo opportunities are abound. I don't know where to look. I feel there's potentially a good opportunity coming up here. There must be a way to take a picture of two ships heading towards each other, which would be satisfying, but I can't think what that would be. Not sure I'm desperately happy with either of those, really. I think I need to put some thought into my location for the shots. But anyway, the Queen Mary 2 is now picking up a bit of speed, hopefully not exceeding 6 knots, which is the speed limit in this part of Southampton water. I would say it looks like about 6 knots to me. On board the Queen Mary 2, I am led to believe are 396 crew and 1 passenger. Who this one lucky passenger is, I don't know, but they'll have the run of the ship to themselves. I think, as I've talked about previously, the Queen Mary 2 was one of the faster ships we have coming into the port of Southampton. Our average cruise ship typically reaching speeds of 22 knots, whereas the Queen Mary 2 has a top speed of 30 knots. The Queen Mary 2 achieves this by having a integrated electric propulsion system rather than a diesel-electric configuration. Not only are there diesel engines, but there are also gas turbines, and these are used to generate the electricity for propulsion as well as the electricity used on board. Need to do is get myself a sound recording machine, because there was quite a cacophony of hooting between the Queen Mary 2 and the Queen Victoria and the Britannia and the Azora. They were honking very merrily to each other. There was also a considerable amount of human shouting and whistling. The crew members that are essentially stuck on board these ships were shouting to each other from their balconies. I'm guessing it's a sort of daily ritual. Get your hour of exercise and shouting in all in one go. You can't quite see from this far away, but on the very front of the ship, on the bow, behind the wave guards before the command deck, are some spare propeller blades. And these propeller blades, I have been led to be informed, are sometimes referred to as the captain's cufflinks. Certainly are pretty swanky. Difficult to tell, but the water in Southampton water is very low. It's a very low tide, and the water is out. And about where I am now, what you can see below me, is the Gimp Buoy, which marks the Gimp Bank. And the Gimp Bank is exposed at this very low tide, and was the bank that the Titanic got stuck on when coming out of dock on her maiden voyage. As we can see, there's nobody on board on this side. I think they're all on the other side of the ship, on the port side, so they can shout and whistle to their shipmates on the other ships. When the Queen Mary II was built, she held the record for the longest cruise ship. However, the Royal Caribbean Freedom of the Seas is now longer. Launched in March of 2003, the Queen Mary II is getting on for 20 years old. Still a very pleasing cruise liner. We're getting a good look at the stern of the vessel here, and if you can see, it's very bulbous, designed reminiscing the shape of a spoon. Then I'm not sure if you can make out, there is a flatter part, a transom along the water's edge. This flat part, which goes across the bow of the ships, was introduced as a method of anchoring the propulsion systems. Otherwise it should have been a perfectly smooth rear. I think that one's come out rather well. Well, I think we will say farewell to the Queen Mary II as she hoots and honks out of the port. You can see the flat transom parts now at the stern. Bit of shame, really. I'd imagine that would have looked rather elegant if it was perfectly smooth, like a spoon. Until next time, shipmates.